Hi everybody, Old Guy here, and today's book is A Woman of No Importance by Sonia Purnell. Now this is a nonfiction book, but it reads like a novel, so I shall treat it as such, and as history, as a story, it's outstanding. Truly an outstanding story. The life of Virginia Hall, who was probably the most effective behind-the-lines Allied agent during World War II. Not such an outstanding treatment of her story because the author, Sonia Purnell, is a bit strident, almost insistent that Virginia single-handedly won the war. Without her, we'd be speaking German today. And if you wait a little while, we may all be speaking Russian. Virginia did some dang good work. I mean, she really did, but she also screwed the pooch a few times. Since the early 70s, there's been this prevailing idea to the point of cliche that somewhere around the year 1 or so, women were oppressed into slavery by the white male patriarchy until the enlightened sisterhood rose up around, I think around 1973 and struck off their chains. And yet I keep running into stories like this one about powerful or brilliant or accomplished women who did admirable things. You know, like Amelia Earhart or Marie Curie, Virginia Woolf, Rebecca and Boadicea and Cleopatra. Now, I read a lot of obituaries, not because I'm trying to find out who won or anything, but because each one of them is a short story, some of them quite compelling, and I just don't think they should be forgotten. And the thing that struck me is I keep running into these obituaries of women who were lawyers and doctors and warriors of one kind or another in the 1930s and 40s. Cream rises to the top, regardless of cultural norms. Virginia was pretty much from birth an adventurous type who drove her mother crazy because she hung out with the boys and played with the boys, but had no intention of finding an acceptable boy with whom to push out grandbabies for mom to dawdle on her knees. Virginia has a world to see and things to do, and boy, does she. She goes to college and then off to Paris to hang out with the Lost Generation, and then on to Virginia. Has a Polish officer for a lover who her dad disapproves of, so they break up, and the officer probably ends up a victim of the Soviet massacre in the Katyn forest. The crash wipes out her family's fortune, and her father dies of a heart attack, and Virginia ends up working for the State Department in Turkey, where one day out hunting with the boys, she shoots herself in the foot and has it amputated. So let's see what we've got here. A single, one-legged woman who resigns from the State Department and starts driving ambulances for the French army as the juggernaut German blitzkrieg rolls across the French countryside. Doomed, right? Far from it. Because Virginia Hall is possessed of that rare commodity in humans of any form: competence. She knows what she's doing. Better yet, she has common sense and an innate radar for bullcrap, which makes her the perfect intelligence agent. But she's a woman, and a one-legged one at that. Yet, the British Special Operations Executive recruits her to establish underground resistance networks in France because there's a war on, and competence and an innate radar for bullcrap are essential if you're going to win it, no matter what package it comes in. And she is really, really good at this. Better than those wop-wop boys that are hired out of the favored schools who make an incredible mess of things about 5 minutes after they land in France. I mean, about 95% of these guys who the British send in are just complete idiots. Not Virginia. Now, not that she didn't make a mess of things from time to time, once at a very critical point. Tell you, based on reading this book, the greatest intelligence agent of World War II, at least in France, was actually a German, an Abwehr sergeant named Bleicher, who was terrifyingly good in penetrating the French resistance. He used an even more terrifying spy named Alish to penetrate Virginia's network and plant false information about Dieppe that Virginia blithely passed on, leading to the disastrous Allied raid. Virginia had to escape across the Pyrenees in winter on foot, literally 1 foot, and somehow makes it back to England. Cover blown and no longer good to the SOE, she could have easily sat out the rest of the war resting on her considerable laurels. But she didn't. She joined the American Office of Strategic Services and went right back to France to do the same thing. Wow! Virginia ended up in the CIA after the war and was treated abysmally. That's because the CIA was started by a bunch of Harvard and Princeton graduates who were too young for World War II, but who believed their grand political and cultural theories more than made up for their lack of experience. They came in wearing their Brooks Brothers suits and imposed their madmen attitudes on everything, including towards women. But I think Virginia's shabby treatment at their hands was more because she was part of that OSS generation of actual doers with common sense, like Wild Bill Donovan. And the whiz kids and technocrats simply didn't have patience for the fuddy-duddies. They had better ideas. I mean, Bay of Pigs, man! So she faded away, unheralded, unknown, except to the people who counted. And that's all that really counts, isn't it? Old guy here. See you later. Oh no, the battery isn't working. The battery is not working. Oh no. What am I going to do? What am I going to do, little kitty cat? Alright, let's try that again.